Thank you. Okay, that sounds good. No, thank you so much. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen of the press, if you just move closer, we should be getting started. Yes, welcome, engineer. Yeah, yes, welcome, yes. That's where I am, and I couldn't see by How are you? Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah, fine, yeah. Hi, how are you? Very good. Director, thank you for all your great work. Yeah, thank you. Oh, thank you. Thanks a lot. This has been an incredible yes, it's fine too. Thank you. Oh, Alice, how you doing?
How you doing?
Congratulations. Well
Good.
done. Well done. Well done. Yeah, Kinsella? Yes, ma'am. Turn this off, please. Yeah. Yeah, turn it off. Okay, ladies and gentlemen of the press, let's settle down so that we can get started. It's been a busy 3 days, quite eventful, and I'm sure you will go away quite enriched. So this session is for recapping some key messages and, of course, the outcomes of the 3-day Africa Investment Forum's market days and the boardrooms you've been hearing. Some of you may have visited some of those boardrooms and seen the activities that go in there. And you've heard the figure that was unveiled today by the chairman of the Africa Investment Forum, who is the president of the African Development Bank Group, Dr. Akiwumi Adeshina. And he is here now with representatives of all the partners ready to give you that update. But let me just quickly introduce them to you. Starting from the far end, we've got Engineer Hani Sonbo, representing the Islamic Development Bank. Thank you so much for coming. We've got the President and Managing Director, Emeritus President of the Trade and Development Bank, and that is Admasu Tedese. Next to Admasu Tedese is Boitumelo Mosako, the CEO of the Development Bank of Southern Africa, that's DBSA, next to the chairman, Dr. Akiwumi Adeshina. And after that, we've got Tsepidi Moremon, who's the Chief Operations Officer of Africa 50. She's representing the CEO, Alain Ebobise. And next to Sepidi is the president of the Africa Finance Corporation, Samaila Zubairu. You've been seeing him being interviewed during the closing ceremony, and thank you so much for joining us today. And next to him is Mr. Haytham El Mayargi, the Executive Vice President for Global Trade Bank with Afrexim Bank. And then we've got Mr. Roger Stewart, who is the head of Regional Hub, West and Central Africa, representing the European Investment Bank. Without much further ado, let me hand you over to the chairman of the African Investment Forum, Dr. Akiwumi Adeshina, to give you a briefing, and then we'll open up to you for questions, which will take for about half an hour. Thank you so much. Over to you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Director Solomon. First, let me start with words of appreciation for you for coming as press leaders, journalists from around the world. When I came in here, we started at the start for the opening ceremony, and I had the opening ceremony press conference. I understood you had about 25 journalists here, but as I look around, I think the number has kind of increased over time, which is wonderful. Thank you for your interest. Thank you for your commitment. Thank you for the stories. And thank you also for believing in the fact that Africa needs are not to be looked at as challenges. Africa's needs are investors' opportunities. And so whether it's in energy, it's an investor's opportunity. Whether it's in financing, infrastructure, it's an investment opportunity. And so we at Africa Investment Forum see Africa as a place full of investment opportunities, in that all we have to do is to make sure that private capital comes to meet the needs for Africa to actually turn those things into solutions for itself. And that's the spirit that guides everything that we do as partners in the African Investment Forum. We believe very strongly in Africa. We have a duty, we have a responsibility to fast-track Africa's development, both by using development finance, de-risking investments, but also making sure that we attract significant amount of private capital. The theme of our forum this year is on leveraging investment partnerships for scale. And you can see all of us, we are here, all the partner institutions, they have been introduced, we are here. We had at this forum 2,300 participants. That is 60% more than what we had last year in Marrakesh. We had participants from 83 countries around the world. In terms of what we came here to do, a lot of our conversations are in the investment boardrooms, as you know. We had 41 investment boardrooms. We had 37 investment projects. And let me just say something about these investment projects. We decided to enhance the way in which we originate projects as a group, Africa Investment Project Group. So we set very high standards this year in terms of what clears this through, in terms of readiness of projects, in terms of projects that have met environmental and social impact assessment studies, projects that will make it a lot easier for us to fast track the closure of financial deals. So we have been much more rigorous over time, and you saw it actually this year. I'm delighted to let you know that we were able to mobilize $29.2 billion of investment interest across various projects. And that's an incredible achievement for this year. Those projects cover different areas. They cover transport, power and energy, agribusiness, food and agribusiness, industry, mines. You hear from the president of the Africa Finance Corporation about what we're doing collectively on the Lomito corridor. You can speak about it during the Q&A session. Mining, of course, pharmaceuticals, private equity funds, tourism, urban development, water management, and also water and sanitation. One of the major achievements that we had, significant milestones, was that we set up something called the synthetic securitization platform. And that synthetic securitization platform is to essentially take the portfolios that we have that are from the African Development Bank, from the Development Bank of Southern Africa, and we transfer some of the risk on those private non-sovereign operations that we have to the private sector institutional investors. And this builds on what the African Development Bank has done over time in terms of room to run synthetic securitization. Now, this is major for us, and we have Africa 50 as part of those that are actually there with other institutional investors that we are doing that with. And just to close before we have the Q&A, the future looks good for Africa. It looks great for Africa. It looks great also for the Africa Investment Forum. Already for next year, we have lined up 15 new entities that are going to join the Africa Investment Forum, either as partners or as sponsors. That tells you what the value addition of the value creation of the Africa Investment Forum is. So we are delighted. We are excited. It's been 3 days of fast-paced speed dating, but I think we have been able to bring together significant financing across strategic transformative projects for Africa. So thank you very much for being here, and we look forward to your questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President, for those brief remarks. Members of the press, this is now your opportunity. I know you've had days to sample so many things, and you must be armed with comments and questions. Here we go. So let's see some hands go up right from here. And then we've got, I think for today, we'll start from the left. So Solange, if you can give the microphone, please say your name and organization.
Bonjour, Youssef Bougrouba de l'Agence marocaine de presse. Donc, vous avez mentionné tout à l'heure un montant de plus de 29 milliards d'investissements.
From the Moroccan Investment Forum, you said that we have about 120,000 million. So what is the share of Morocco and what sectors are targeted?
Afternoon. My name is Kenneth Igbomo from CNBC Africa. Congrats again on your Africa of the Decade Award for the ABLAs. My question is just very simple. It's in all of these deals, which of them really excites you and why?
Okay, let's take maybe another question and then we'll go to another round. Solange, there's a lady right behind the camera, the photographer here. And the trick thing about the microphone is make it very direct and close to your lips.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Precious Ibobalundu. I work for the Nation newspapers in Nigeria. My question is, of this $29.2 billion, how many of it is going to Nigeria? Thank you.
Okay, let's see, anyone question we can take in the first round? Okay, as you think about more questions, Mr. President, let's take those three.
Let me start with the last one. We'll give you all the full information and the breakdown when I get it. We'll make sure we give it to you. But two things I want to mention for Nigeria. When the boardroom of Nigeria was held, the presidential boardroom was for the special agro-industrial processing zones. The deal asked there was about 938 or $32 million. And it is to help to develop special agro-industrial processing zones in 28 states of Nigeria. Already we have invested about $858 million for 8 agro-industrial processing zones, special agro-industrial processing zones in Nigeria. So this is a phase 2 of it to mobilize $1 billion, but the boardroom was for 930-something million dollars. It was incredible because we were able to raise for that $2.2 billion, well above what actually was asked for. So that's for Nigeria. To tell you when things work, it's when people are happy. The governor of Lagos State, they had a transport infrastructure project in the boardroom. He came to one of the meetings where I was saying, I'm going back with $1 billion successfully raised for that particular project. And so there are a lot more projects on Nigeria in the digital economy, creative industries that Mo Abudu also had there that actually got financed. So we'll give you the big things, but those are the 2 major ones that I wanted just to mention to you. And of course, for that, we had governors from, I think, 5 states in Nigeria, and we also had representative governors from several states. So the political will behind that is very, very strong. In terms of the Maroc, vous m'avez demandé la question, quelle est la part de Maroc? Je peux vous dire que
Morocco wanted to know the share that will go to Morocco project. I think what is most important here is what we've been able to do for Morocco. You have got investments through the National Railway Authority. This is a flagship and strategic project for the country. I was in the room when that particular deal went down, and I believe that the amounts which were committed was to the tune of $8 billion. I think we're able to raise more than $13 billion in terms of commitments, and this was one of the most important flagship projects. And this is because actually the National Railway Authority presented a very interesting strategy that is of strategic import for Morocco. We're indeed proud of this particular project.
What deal excites me the most? Somebody asked me, I don't know where.
CNBC.
Oh, yeah. I think I'm excited by everything. So I don't have a particular deal that I say excites me the most because all of our partners have things in the boardrooms. But I think what excites me the most is just the fact that this year we have really top quality, well-prepared, bankable projects. Of course, if you want to push me a little bit, what excites me the most, I would say I was excited by the Nigerian boardroom because of what I said. We raised, $2.2 billion compared to $930-something million that we wanted to do. And of course, the Moroccan one that I just mentioned, which was incredible, went way over what we did. We were also in the boardrooms for a project that was from DRC, the Republic of Congo, which was on energy, hydropower. And that hydropower is going to allow them to be able to transform their iron ore also into bauxite. The another one that is also very, very important that I was excited about is the project from Mauritania, which again is the development of SNIM, which is the Société Nationale de Mauritanie, which is the development of train and also the processing of iron pellets that will allow them to be able to significantly play in the global value chains of that. So let me stay there, and others will find other things that they want to say.
Okay. Let's get another round of questions, please. Yes, we've got a gentleman here. two from here, and then we one at the back. So let's start from the gentleman, these two gentlemen here, and then we go at the back. Thanks.
Thank you so much. It's Pelele Dludla. I'm with Business Report in South Africa. Congratulations, President Aseshina, for such a successful term of office. I know it's not the end yet, but you've delivered your goodbyes to the investment forum. And I just wanted to find out, after such a long time at this position in this office, you have a bird's eye view of what challenges exist in Africa in terms of its very right to raise bankable projects and funding and investment. But different regions have different challenges in the continent. And perhaps as someone who's well positioned, you can highlight to us what are the common challenges that exist in terms of finishing your projects timeously, and maybe give us the idea of how can these challenges be overcome. Maybe you can also give us your future plans if it's not too early. Maybe you could unveil to us what are your plans after finishing your term as president of AFDB. Thank you so much.
All right, then pass it on to your neighbor.
Bonjour, Monsieur le Président. Je m'appelle Didier Assoumou, journaliste à Fraternité Matin en Côte d'Ivoire.
Didier Assoumou, journalist from Fraternity Côte d'Ivoire. You talked about legacy. It would appear that this could be your last Africa Investment Forum. What kind of heritage should you remember you for, and what should we actually retain from the High Five project?
Right there at the back. Yeah, if you can go further down. Yeah, we'll come across to you. Solange, stay closer. There's somebody there.
Thank you. Thank you. Bonjour. Monsieur le Président, je m'appelle Malik Ndao, je suis journaliste à l'EGECO.
My name is Malik Ndao. I'm an economic journalist based in Senegal.
Portefeuille de
Mine
non souverain.
relates to the non-sovereign portfolio.
Je parle de votre portefeuille de prêts non souverains.
I'm talking about the non-sovereign debt portfolio. This is the kind of credit or debt that's not guaranteed, which is nonetheless based on fixed margins, which has got actually a knock-on effect on interest rates. Do you think that this kind of facility is well suited for African economies? Max.
Yes, stand so we can see you properly. Your name and organization. Yes.
Bonsoir.
Oui, bonsoir.
C'est Youssef Yagoubi, journal Express,
Hello.
Maroc.
I'm a journalist from Morocco.
L'étape suivante, c'est
My question
Africa Investment Forum.
relates to the way forward. And for the African Investment Forum of 2025, I would like to know whether there will be other investors or funders that will be part of the forum, especially from the international space.
But I also wanted to ask questions from my partners, so I don't want to keep talking myself along. So,
Yeah, so if you've got questions here for the European Investment Bank, for Afrexim Bank, for Africa Finance Corporation, we've got Africa 50 as well, to Development Bank of Southern Africa, Trade and Development Bank, and Islamic Development Bank, they are here. They'll provide you with the answers. So we've got, if you can get the microphone here for Miguel, and then we'll come back to SNBC.
Thank you very much, Miguel Artacho from Quantum Films for an upcoming film on Morocco to be distributed with ABC7 Good Morning Washington. Now, this event, as you mentioned, has really brought together people from all over the world. It's
Cet
mobilized.
événement a permis de réunir
You have some of the key players from multilateral financial institutions that you just mentioned. They're all here. I wanted to ask you, what do you think have been some of the key factors in the success of this event? And yeah, that's basically it. And where do you see the next? What would you think needs to be done in the next edition?
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chairman will decide who can fill that question. Let's get another one here for any of the other members of the
Yeah, Kenneth Bone from CNBC again. My question is to AFC. Congrats on your Lobitorial project. And I'd like you to just speak on the development impact as well that this is going to give for these countries involved.
About Robito Corridor, yeah? Okay. Okay, Mr. President, back to you.
Now, let me distribute the questions first. On the key factors for success of the AIF and what should be done for the next AIF, I'd like the partners to comment on that. Let me start with Admasu, and then we go from there to Butemelo, and then we finish on this side, and we go across, because that's a very important question that affects all of us.
Yes, good afternoon. My take on the key success factors, one, of course, is it's a very structured process that the Africa Investment Forum represents. It's not just the market days that we're all here engaged at, but it's a lot of preparation that builds up to the market days. It's a platform, there's systems, and all that preparation leads in very, very focused and concerted conversations trying to move projects along. You have different types of projects at different stages, but really the turnout and having people here in person makes a huge difference, because there's just so many dynamic questions and interactions that need to happen to get people's heads around opportunities, to troubleshoot on what's slowing down projects, and to try to close a circle, because you sometimes have maybe 2/3 or 80% of the funding in place, but you still need to attract more. So our boardrooms have attendance of first-time attendance, and you all of a sudden find that you've picked up a couple of more interested parties that helps you to close the circle. I think these would be some of the key success factors in my view.
Thank you, Admasu. In terms of the success factors, maybe just to add to what President Tadesse has alluded to, it's the number of investors that are participating in the boardrooms. I got the opportunity to sit in one of the boardrooms, and when I look at the number and the organizations that are represented in those boardrooms, it has definitely increased in terms of institutional investors, commercial banks, and other DFIs as well. And I think the highlight, of success as well is Badea, joining the AIF founding partners as a partner. Another thing is urban finance. The DBSA, together with the AFD, hosted an event on urban finance, and this is a continuation from last year. And what is interesting is that even in the boardrooms, there were a whole lot more transactions supporting urban finance. We brought, DBSA brought a water PPP to actually support a city in South Africa. So it has been success all around. Another one is the side event that we held to invest in Gauteng, which was well attended by investors, from different parts of the world. So I really think when one looks at the theme for this year, we have seen a strength in partnership. We have seen innovation coming through, and we're really looking forward, to more AIFs in future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Of course, in addition to what was said really regarding the success factors, I think we need to eat one more thing is actually the leadership. The leadership of this really a leader like, our chairman, Adesanya today, and we see that this also the commitment of all the partners and stakeholders to really achieve very specific goals. It is highly planned, excellent planning, well organized, but not only that, but it's also being focused on what is exactly we want to go out from this really big events. Personally, I have been attending so many events and so many forums, and sometimes you go out without really having a substance or we have anything that you can build on. Today we see that AIF is actually that platform where you can really go out with ideas, with new partners, with new deals, and you are extremely focused on the matters that really considered a priority for any organization. So I think this is what makes this really a big success for a forum like AIF as well. Thank you.
Let me just introduce Mr. Monsef Kloshi. You are here as the senior advisor to the president of the Arab Bank of Economic Development in Africa, that's Badea, Mr. Sid Oldtam, who is not around, but Monsef, thank you so much for coming. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me just first quickly thank President Adesina and President Ebubise for the invitation. Just to answer the question, I think I'd like to echo what my partners have mentioned, especially President Tadesse, on the structuring of the discussion that are happening here. I think the interaction, the serendipity of meeting people is always good, just like in any conference. But the structuring and the fact that people are coming prepared with a pitch and that you have dedicated session does help quite a bit in terms of the actionability of the opportunities. And I think this is sort of the vibe that we're feeling when we come to this session. And we're very thankful to the organizers to bring in, again, innovation. And I think it's important for DFIs in general to innovate and come up with new ideas, new formats, new ways of conducting business. So thank you again.
Thank you. I think for me, the key thing is really that AIF is transaction-led. Too often we go to conferences or we're convened and there's a lot of talk. This is really focused on actual transactions. We've had 44 boardrooms over the past few days. And for us as developers, being able to convene so many investors in one space makes such a huge difference. We're able to sit and discuss the actual transaction, so get ideas and get a sense from investors the sorts of transactions that they want. And for us as developers, what this means is that we've got a very robust product that is bankable post these discussions. And I think the second part for us as Africa 50, with the numbers that were shown today, with the investment that we've been able to attract, I think what this demonstrates to us is that infrastructure is actually an investable asset class. I think for too long we've been talking about the lack of bankable projects on the continent. This demonstrates that there are projects, that are investable, and that through both domestic and global capital, we can attract and actually deliver many of these projects and scale. And then finally, it's about partnership. So many of the projects that we've seen are partners on this table, and we've been able to collaborate across many of them. And I'm taking up a little bit of time here, President Adesina, but I think we talked about innovation, right? And as Africa 50, we're really excited about bringing Mozambique transmission line PPPs, demonstrating that PPPs, or rather transmission lines, can be funded no differently to generation IPPs that we've seen through private capital. So being able to bring in new and innovative ideas to get investors and really demonstrate the confidence of infrastructure as an asset class. Thank you.
So I would not like to repeat most of what has been said. I'll just maybe reference three key things. The first one is the preparation. You know, what is key and what is key for success going forward is the amount of preparation, the expertise of the partners, the preparation of all the various teams. Secondly, it is the collaboration and I'll say friendship of the people on the table. So we meet each other severally, so we have opportunities to talk about what we're going to discuss. We have the opportunity to brainstorm, you know, all the options, and we have the ability, we have the network to leverage each other's capabilities in preparing the transactions. And then finally, you know, it's just the opportunity to have so many people in the room, and the quality continues to improve all the time. So I would use this opportunity to also answer the question on Lobito Corridor about the economic potentials. So today in the boardroom today, there was a lot of conversation around what are the other objectives outside diversifying supply chain for critical minerals. Of course, we mentioned the agricultural opportunity, mentioned the opportunity, tourism opportunity. We mentioned the industrialization opportunity. We mentioned the energy systems improvement opportunity. Of course, all of this is all about quality job creation. It's all about building strong institutions. It's all about creating a framework for collaboration amongst governments. It's also about, I would say, practicalizing the frameworks that have already existed. So, for example, there's this framework around cross-border transport, you know, having to cross between country to country on one single trip without having to stop at customs. So there's a framework that exists in SADC, but with this project, we're going to practicalize it and give it life so that other regions that are seeking regional integration can build on what has worked here for that. There are also several people that have come to us now telling us that they have steel, you know, and we are going to try and use the opportunity to bring down the price of steel. You know, we know that there are several quarries that are around, several cement factories are around. All of these factors, you know, are the impact of the project, which if we can harness, also helps us bring down the price of the project. So it's just about the quality jobs, about linkages across several factors. Thank you.
First, I would like to thank President Adeshola for his leadership to pull us together like this. The energy is contagious, and the level of collaboration between the agents is actually impressive. A big part of the success is the inclusivity, seeing ECAs, seeing insurer. It's actually give you a better discussion, end-to-end discussion for all the deals. I'll not repeat my colleague has said, but there's also the ripple effect of success for this event. In addition to what we've seen, we've shared 5 projects. We had a lot of interest and also participated in a lot. 6 of them we showed interest, but the actual ripple effect is that even the side meetings that we've managed to do, in addition to the boardrooms, did almost more than 40 meetings with around 3 billion of interest and new transaction, which is even above the success, the impressive number of 29 billion. There is a lot of ripple effect that's happening around this 29 billion. The engagement that we've done in promoting how we can get our African contractor to do the EPC business, to own the African business, the very interactive panels that we did in ECAs advising people. We use the slogan of go to the doctor early, where people need to come early, structure early to benefit from the investment. So overall, very impressive and contagious success. Thank you.
Thank you, and Chairman Adesina for giving us all the la parole. I hope we will still have time for the very interesting question raised about your bird's eye view of 10 years of experience. When we met you earlier this week, you told us that until 6 a.m. on the last day of your tenure, you would be continuing to fight for Africa and fight for the African Investment Forum. And I think that the quality of the debate and the quality of the colleagues that we have with us is very much a demonstration of your energy and your enthusiasm. So I would say one thing is a kind of creating a world-class event. Dr. Adesina also, I think when you thought about creating this event, we heard earlier today, you were railing against this risk premium that there is for Africa. And you've also given the example where President Ruto is saying, why am I paying 200 basis points more when there's a coup in Niger? And I think that at a global level, having a world-class event, which we've all seen in the last few days, the quality of everything, the technical quality, I mean, it's an incredible world-class event, bringing together investors and sponsors and financiers, I think is already an incredible value. Then I would say, more particularly in terms of the question, there's a lot of capital that's available to be invested, and we often hear the issue is one of there's not bankable projects. And I think that the focus on making sure that the projects that are brought to the boardrooms are bankable. In other words, all the technical studies that underlie the bankability of the project is very important. And finally, I would say that it's a focus on practical, others have said it, the transactions. In our case, we were able to sign with Seed Stars, an investment fund we've funded, but also the African Development Bank is funded, and through a Boost Africa, which is a joint initiative that we both collaborate on as partners. I had the chance to speak to the fund manager of this fund, and in a panel earlier today, one of the colleagues was saying that a big issue with energy projects in Africa is that most of the utilities are functionally bankrupt, so you don't have the ability to, and you need government guarantees, and government are highly indebted. This particular fund, one of its investee companies is going around mapping out the electricity grids and is basically immediately able to generate cost savings to the tune of, say, $600 million for the utility of Ghana. So I mean, I think that those kinds of examples are what the African Investment Forum is all about. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I was just getting information on the various boardrooms so I can provide you a little bit more details. And I'll come back to the questions that you asked me at the end. But I think it's important that I give you more detailed information on the various boardrooms. So let me start with some of the various projects. So one of the projects we have is a project called Azalai, which is actually in Mauritania. And this is to develop the issue of high standard accommodations and so on, obviously, which will promote tourism. He was able to secure $120 million, which is very important for that. The ONCF program, which is the Office National de Chemin de Fer that I was talking about, Morocco, actually the results were more better than I actually told you. They asked for $8.8 billion, and they got investment interest for it for $14.2 billion. So just tells you the big issue there. The African Women Impact Fund, because we know that women have to have access to funds. We've been supporting collectively women across Africa. This is a fund that is linked to the Affirmative Finance Action for Women in Africa, AFAWA, was able to raise $50 million towards that fund. That's what is called the Aquasum Agribusiness Program, which is actually in Cabo Verde, was able to raise $62 million. The AESL, which is another project that's there, but let me not go into that. Let me go to let me find another. the Arab API company, which is an active greenfield active pharmaceutical ingredients. As you know, Africa imports 80 to 90% of its medicines and only produces only 1% of its vaccines. And so this is a very, very interesting project out of Egypt to establish active pharmaceutical ingredients without which you can produce medicines. And so this was able to raise $60 million. It will contribute a lot to all of what we are trying to do in terms of health. There is in Nigeria, you were talking of the Purple Rail project, which is a national project, of course, like in Lagos. And that was able to raise $860 million. Let me pick the hydro project, which was for Cameroon. It's called Minkulma Hydroelectric Dam. I was in that boardroom myself, which will allow them to be able to also generate more power. They raised $392 million. There was a project, it's called Africa Improved Food Expansion Program, which is in East Africa to try and support access to food for 10 million people by actually processing food at scale, raised $110 million. There was in Mauritania, I mentioned to you the mining project, which they have there with SNIM, to be able to produce pellets, iron pellets. So they are not just simply exporting iron ore, was able to raise $1.1 billion of investment interest. In South Africa, of course, Atomai is where now? Is that? And that's not Atomai. Just give me 1 second. I'll come back to that. Cosmic, yeah. South Africa, Cosmic Energy. Again, renewable energy, $62 million. For the Nigerian special agro-industrial processing zones that I actually mentioned to you, the deal ask was $975 million, but it raised 4.8. It was actually $4.8 billion. So I can go on, but it just gives you a flavor of many of these projects that we have. Let me touch on a few more. I mentioned to you about the Film Fund, just to see the diversity, which is a film fund that's going to be in Nigeria, was able to raise $17 million. And I mean, it's a whole range. I won't just give you a flavor of the whole range of things that we have. Now, back to your questions about the business report. Where's the business report? Okay, yeah. About the challenges, some of the challenges. Of course, some of the challenges that we face is developing bankable projects. And that's why we put a lot of efforts into developing that, because obviously the investors want to make sure that the projects are there, they're well prepared, and they meet all the standards that they need, environmental standards, social standards, and that they can actually proceed to that. So all of us are working across our institutions to improve the development of bankable projects. The second thing, of course, is investors always ask about risk, rightly so, market risk, financial risk, political risk. This is always what we have, but across our institutions, we have the instruments to do that, which is partial credit guarantees and partial risk guarantees that we offer at scale. And as I mentioned, we're working also to be able to deploy guarantee instruments at scale with the establishment of what we're calling Africa Investment Guarantee Agency, which will deploy from the African Development Bank. I mean, it will deploy partial credit guarantees, partial risk guarantees at scale. It will also insure against equity risk, environmental risk that you have, and several, including political risk insurance as well. And lastly is the cost of capital, and that's why we all here. all of our institutions bring a lot of concessional financing to provide blended finance that brings out a cost of capital across all projects. And this is one of the things that we all do. You are talking about the issue of my future plans. Is that somebody asked me that? Is that in the boardroom? Was that in the boardroom session? I didn't participate in that boardroom, so I just wanted to make sure that yeah. But whatever it is, you know, my heart is in Africa, my soul and my mind is in Africa. Whatever I do will be in Africa. It's the only thing that makes me tick is how can we fast track Africa's development. So you will just watch this space. I will always be involved in Africa because there's nothing more important to me than in my life to see that as an African, I use my knowledge, my skill, my capacity, my networks, my influence, my advocacy to advocate for accelerated development of the continent of my birth. And so that will continue to be all I do for the rest of my life. In terms of heritage, somebody was asking me about c'est paternité maternelle, m'avait demandé la question. OK. Je peux vous dire que, bon, les choses les plus importantes pour nous.
I can tell you that the most important things for us, I had the opportunity to change the prospects of the African Development Bank. In other words, how we view things. For instance, if you say the FDB, the most important part is development. It's not just a bank. We know how to manage the bank. The most important part of our bank is development, and we were able to change that perspective. And today, the African Development Bank is seen as a solution bank for situations of infrastructure, for agriculture, for finance, just solutions. We always must find solutions, and I think that is the most important of what we need to do. We also have another aspect that is very important for me. If you look at the way that we have worked with men and women.
That's because he expects us to be working together to be able to reach out. The problems of Africa, opportunities are so massive. No single institution can do it. You need knowledge products. You need financing to do it. You need policy reforms. And that's why we are all here. And so for me, as the president of the African Development Bank, the thing I'm proud the most is the way we've been able to work with partners. Create new institutions like Africa 50, support all institutions, work together to solve problems. As I always say, Africa's challenges are like baobab trees. If you want to put your hand around a baobab tree, you can't do it. But if you join your hands with others around a baobab tree, you can do it. And that's the power of what you see here. You know, when you listen to the president of the African Finance Corporation speaking, we were not in Luanda where he was, but he was speaking for all of us in terms of how we connect together. So the power of partnerships is what I think in my legacy will be most important, is that the ability for us to work across institutions, across countries, with private sector, everybody in trying to advance Africa's interests. And when you're talking about the high fives of the bank, yes, the high fives of the bank has been the best thing that I think as president I did for the African Development Bank. I remember when President Ajay Banga of the World Bank came to see me, he said the best thing you have done for the African Development Bank is the high fives of the bank, because it makes us focused, it makes us focus on results and impacts in areas that matter to the lives of people. So it's not just, okay, we did $1 billion, we do $1 billion, $1 billion impacting on the lives of people. And I'm most proud of that because our work over the last 7, 8 years has allowed us to impact on 500 million people in terms of access to electricity, in terms of access to water sanitation. You're from Côte d'Ivoire. If you look at Côte d'Ivoire, pretty much all the infrastructure you see in Côte d'Ivoire today is financed by the African Development Bank. All the bridges that you see there is financed by the African Development Bank. Almost 90% of the investments you see are infrastructure in Morocco is actually financed by the African Development Bank. So I'm very proud of what we've done. And I'm delighted that when we went and asked, on avait demandé les pays, si on doit continuer avec le high five.
You asked me about countries. If we want to continue with the high five, at the level of the board, we asked that question should be raised. So all the countries have said we'll continue with the high five. We have to scale up the high five because the high fives are already giving results. So I'm very proud of that achievement. And thank you for asking me about my heritage. One word.
To inspire my staff. And they come up with solutions, and I'm proud of them. So when I leave, and anybody asks me, what will you miss the most? I would say my staff, because they work day and night to come up with the solutions that we have. And so that's just about that. And as I also say, I was with Africa 50, where I chaired their board. I was talking to them that the legacy of a leader is not what you think. You know, I mean, for me, the legacy of a leader should be simple: kindness, just kindness. Because everything we all do here, it's not about us. It's about a girl needing to go to school, a water for people, electricity for people, food, nutrition, and so on. So we have to do our responsibility with kindness and focus on accountability. And I think that's what I would say. Le Sénégal, c'est où là? Le Sénégal m'avait posé une question. You know, on non-sovereign operations, we all do non-sovereign operations here. And it's not, I think you're trying to confuse two things. One is, when you say non-sovereign operations, it doesn't mean that it's a state-owned enterprise. Because if you have a state-owned enterprise, that's a contingent liability on the state, which we all fund, of course. They are very good state-owned enterprises. I know what you're saying. But we support non-sovereign operations because it's not enough just to support public sector, right? Our non-sovereign operations is to provide us access to, say, financial institutions, for example. We support them with lines of credit, all of us. We support lines of credit to financial institutions. We do trade finance. Afri-Exim Bank is, West Africa? Yeah, right over there. They do quite a lot of trade finance, funded and unfunded risk participation agreements that we have with them. You know, we also all support a lot of small and medium-sized enterprises in terms, I mean, you listen to Development Bank of South Africa. In fact, of all of us, she probably is funding more state-owned enterprises. And the state-owned enterprises that they support actually work. We just supported Transnet. I think you guys are also supporting Transnet and others. So we don't have one size for all. We fund private sector, we fund state-owned enterprises, we also fund sovereign. So it's different instruments that we deploy. In terms of AIF 2025, which let me ask Admashu, because that is now, you know, the future. Let me say a few words about it.
Well, I think we've heard that this is the 5th edition of the AIF. It's been 5 very good years, and we are improving also as we're going along. As you've seen this year, the structuring of the boardroom deals has been curated with a lot more intention and specificity. I think there is a brand now that AIF represents. The truth is, there is no other continental forum that deals with investments in the continent in this particular way, with the right group of partners being present in the room, lending a very willing ear and being able to have very frank, dynamic, organic conversations. So the continent will always need a space like this. It's a kind of conference that you know, we've been talking about for many years, and finally it's come to pass. There may actually even be future innovations around AIF where there could be different editions that happen even during the course of the year, depending on how things develop, because it really has addressed a particular need for enabling investors to sit down in rooms with financiers and strategic partners who can actually help move the needle. So I think there's a lot of conferences that happen, but you won't find this cast of characters all in the same place. And the cast of characters comes represented not by one or two people, it's leadership plus senior people and specialists as well, right? So it's very hands-on, it's very practical. So I don't imagine the African investment community would want to stop this.
And just to end on that, you know, we are also mindful of three things as we grow the platform. We want to make sure that we improve on the governance of the platform going forward. We are also looking into the financial sustainability long term, how we make sure that this is there for a very, very long time, continue to serve the interests of Africa, but also doing more than just the, as you all said about the, it's not just the market days. You know, we think that over time, we'll also have regionally based meetings that will feed into the market days, maybe some country events that will also feed into the market days. And lastly is that we have a co-guarantee platform that we all are working on to make sure that we can deal with issues of risk. What we've just done together with the Development Bank of South Africa on the synthetic securitization is something that we are all excited about. We see the opportunity for that to scale and for us to be able to optimize our balance sheets better. So, I mean, there's no game in town, other game in town. This is it. And we are excited about it. We are determined about it. And all of us are going to be putting more resources into it. The last part of your question is any new partners going to be joining the forum. You know, I was just talking to one of the partners, I'm sure you wouldn't mind me mentioning, Shetal Afrique, who just wants to join, and several others want to join. And we have already about almost 15 new sponsors that want to join. So this is growing to becoming the global platform for investment in Africa. We're very excited about it. But just to end, let me on behalf of everybody else here, all my partners here, thank you very much for your interest in the forum. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your passion. Thank you for reporting also the results of what comes out of what we do, because people need to know the impact of that. That's what we do. We work only for people. So help us report the results well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen of the press, so that brings us to the end of the closing press conference. We began with you to give you the heads up about what's going to happen over the 3 days. We've now ended with you again with the key messages. Thank you very much for your time. So just to recap, at the far end is Mr. Monsef Klouchi. He's representing the president of the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa. We've got engineer Hani Sonbol, Islamic Development Bank, President Emeritus and Managing Director, Trade and Development Bank, Tadesse Admasu. We've got Boitumelo Mosako, the CEO of Development Bank of Southern Africa. And we've got, of course, the chairman of the African Investment Forum, Dr. Kumia Deshina. We've got Nsepidi Moremang from Africa 50, Ismailus Bairo from Africa Finance Corporation. We've got Haytham from Afrexim Bank, and we've got Roger Stewart from European Investment Bank. Thank you so much. Have a good evening. Okay, guys, photographers, if you can come forward for a group photo here. How you doing? Good to see you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Yes. That's why I'm